and then we would be moving to the last topic, that is social change. Okay. In politics and society, the first one that, see, we already have discussed the nation state concept in paper 1, right? Nation ka definition, state ka definition, wo sare humne kar liye, das or something on that line we have done it. So now we are going to talk about nationalism. Apart from paper 1, what else thinker we could utilize? Okay, the first one in nationalism when it comes to important thinkers would be T.K. Omen. Okay. So this guy is going to say that there are 7 ways, 7 ways or 7 stages of development of nationalism in India. Okay, just write down, like, what are those stages. You have to divide those stages first into pre-independence. Pre-independence. We are going to talk about the 7 stages. First, we are going to talk about the pre-independence, in which you would be talking about 3 stages in each. 3 stages in pre-independence. Just write it down. The first one, the first among the pre-independence. ठीक है, pre-independence में 3 स्टेज होगा. टोटल हम लोग 7 स्टेज में करेंगे. ब्रॉडली ये 3 में होगा: pre-independence, colonial rule and पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस. ठीक है, पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस. और ये फिर ये तीनों मतलब एग्जैक्टली ये 7, मतलब इसमें 3 है, इसमें कुछ होगा, इसमें कुछ होगा, तो टोटल यहाँ में 7 आ जाएंगे टोटल. ठीक है, यू कैन जस्ट स्टार्ट राइटिंग इन द प्री इंडिपेंडेंस वन. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इंडिया एज ए नेशन was understood in terms of ancient civilizational entity, which comprised of well-defined geography and prominent Hindu culture. Okay, the second one we are continuing in this. There are 3 stages. So the first one we have done, that is the ancient civilization. The second one would be at the time of when Mughal invaded. Okay, just write down. Some described India as a second point. Second stage. Some described India as a fusion of culture. Primarily of Hinduism and Islam. If you observe both this, what you call concept of nationalism is still lying in the cultural dimension. Okay, nation is still in the cultural stage only. It has not been yet defined by a proper territory. Okay. The third one is in reaction to the colonial rule. The Third stage, you know what we call in this pre-independence that actually happened was that India actually became a nation. Why? Because it is being colonized. Okay, so now we are, you know, what you call delineating what is colonial identity or colonial, you know, what you call imperialism, or what is Indian identity. That's why in the second part, this colonial, especially the time of partition, we have only one concept. Okay, one stage or one concept. Religion was propounded. Religion was propounded. Colonial rule at the time of partition. At the time of partition, in that you can write religion was propounded as the sole basis of nation. As the sole basis of nation. Okay. 4 हो गई है. अभी हम लोग यहाँ में 3 और ऐड करेंगे. Okay. In total 7, we have divided into 3 prominent stages. The fourth one is, oh sorry, fifth one. Yeah, I mean it will come, like we have already discussed 1, 2, 3. This one would be the fourth one, and now we are here in the fifth one, which will be coming in the post-independence era. India as a nation, India as a nation is conceptualized as a territorial entity. India as a nation is conceptualized as a territorial entity with specific cultural ethos. With a specific cultural ethos. The territory is clearly delineated. The territory is clearly delineated in the constitution as well. In the constitution as well. Okay. Sixth one, it would be the sixth stage in the post-independence. India is viewed as a nation of many languages. As a nation of many languages. Nation of many languages. Seventh one, that is the last conception by T.K. Omen. It is India is viewed as a synthesis of great tradition and little tradition. India is viewed as a synthesis of great tradition and little tradition. See, nationalism, when it comes, I believe we have done the A.R. Desai, you know, what you call development of nationalism as well. Okay. So next thing that we would be, you know, next thinker or study that would come is the A.R. Desai one, which we have already covered. Right? We have covered the stages of development, 5 stages, and the 3 main conclusion. Right? It is already done in the notes. Pretty important topic, the A.R. Desai one. Even now, if you are doing in this format, I believe we are actually coming up with, you know, if A.R. Desai is asked, the rest of the other thinkers would become the critique of it, right? Third one is Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen. A.R. Desai we have already done. Now we are going to talk about the Amartya Sen. Nationalism in India borders on religious revivalism. Borders on religious revivalism. As a result of which, borders on religious revivalism, as a result of which national identity is often hijacked by majority groups. National identity is often hijacked by majority groups. Such tendencies limit individual freedom. Limit individual freedom. Then we have Andre Bete. Okay. After Amartya Sen, we have Andre Bete. What exactly he has said. According to him, India should focus, we are talking about what Andre Bete has said. According to him, India should focus on pressing problems. India should focus on pressing problems on pressing problems such as poverty, hunger and illiteracy, rather than streamlining the concept of nationalism. So according to him, nationalism is not that important. It is more important that we actually address the issues of poverty, hunger and illiteracy. Okay. Another one which I actually want to add is Gunnar Myrdal. Okay. So Gunnar Myrdal is going to contrast how nationalism has developed in India and how is it different from West. Okay. So he is comparing that, okay, this is West Europe, or let's say this is United Kingdom itself. Okay. In United Kingdom, just follow the what we call timeline. What exactly is happening one after another and how nationalism is developing. According to him, first there is a strong state. Okay. And then a strong state has law and order is very strict. Law and order is very uniform. Okay. Then what we call rights are coming. Rights or democracy is coming. And then comes nationalism. Okay. So according to what we call Myrdal, in UK, that is how what we call the nationalism has developed. Okay. On the other hand, according to what we call in India, it has been the reverse. Okay. In India, it was reverse. In India, first rights and democracy came. We were not independent at that time. Okay. Laws, order and uniform, that came later. State, according to Gunnar Myrdal, has been always soft state in India. He is the one who has called Indian state a soft state. Okay? So basically he is just contrasting what were the how, and nationalism then developed as a onslaught on it. Means nationalism is not developing in a very uniform manner. Okay? See, this is quite an organic evolution. See, nationalism is a feeling which is generated due to the organic, evolution of this. You are getting rights and democracy. So you'd feel obligated to be associated with the nation. You are having law and orders also uniform. So you'd be obligated. Everything is pretty much organic. Here it is not organic according to Gunnar Myrdal. Okay? Just write down in sentence. According to Myrdal, in United Kingdom, a strong state, a strong state followed by uniform law and order, followed by uniform law and order, and then democratic rights, and then democratic rights, and then democratic rights preceded the development of nationalism. Preceded the development of nationalism. On the other hand, in India, democratic rights just a second, I have to check something. Okay. Okay, I actually did a very big mistake here. Nationalism was coming here itself. Sorry, forgive me. Actually, nationalism was coming first, and then it was followed by strong state, law and order, and rights and democracy. Okay, in this, nationalism is coming at the end, and it is preceded by all this thing. I felt something is going wrong. Just recorrect it. I mean, nationalism would be coming first, and then it would be followed by. Just reframe the entire sentence. Okay, I hope everyone can do it. Forgive me for this. Just write that India part. Okay. On the other hand, in India, you have to correct it. Okay. I hope everyone would follow it. Okay. On the other hand, in India, uniform law and order and rights and democratic rights, uniform law and order and democratic rights preceded the development of nationalism. Preceded the development of nationalism. Preceded the development of nationalism, and the state remained soft. And the state remained soft. Okay. The last thinker in this would be Ramchandra Guha, and this is the one you guys have to use whenever a question of what we call conclusion, when you have to write a conclusion when it comes to nationalism, it is the most appropriate conclusion you could utilize. The conclusion given by Ramchandra Guha. Okay. Just write down, Guha suggests a way out. Ramchandra Guha suggests a way out. Suggests a way out of this situation. Suggest a way out of this situation by allowing people to construct their own ideas of nationalism. Construct their own ideas of nationalism. Like cultural nationalism, suggest a way out by allowing people to construct their own ideas of nationalism. By allowing people to construct their own ideas of nationalism, like cultural nationalism, cricket nationalism, like cultural nationalism, cricket nationalism. And what is today? Importance. What is the importance of today's day? It's Vijay Diwas, right? Kargil nationalism. You can add. Apart from cricket and cultural nationalism, we can also have Kargil nationalism, and so on. See, most of the question from politics and state I was just going through have been asked in terms of caste and its, what you call, relation with respect to politics, and that we have done in the third chapter itself in paper 2. Henceforth, I am not emphasizing too much on it. Even in the what we call paper 1 also, we have solved question on those line. You could just write the next topic is function of political parties. Function of political parties. And this was given by Munro and Merriam. Function of political parties given by Munro and Merriam. Just write down, they gave 5 crucial functions of political parties. They gave 5 important functions of political parties in a democracy like India. In a democracy like India. Number 1. Political parties make the working of parliamentary government possible. Political parties make the working of parliamentary form of government possible. As the political parties organize the representatives of people, make the working of parliamentary government possible, as the political parties organize the representatives of people on party lines. As the political party organize the representative of people on party lines. Number 2, political parties formulate public policy after winning the elections. Political parties formulate public policies after winning the election. Formulate the public policies after winning the elections. Number 3, they enhance the political consciousness of a common man. They enhance the political consciousness of a common man. They enhance the political consciousness of a common man. Number 4th, political parties, especially the larger national parties, you have to write political parties, especially the larger national parties. Political parties, especially the larger national parties, provide stability in a country like India. Political parties, especially larger national political parties, provide stability in a country like India. Next point, next function, the 5th and the last one. Political parties also serve as a Political parties also serve as a recruiting point of future leaders. Recruiting point of future leaders. Serve as a recruiting point of future leaders. Okay, now we are going to study social and political elites. Social and political elites. And in that, how they are different in rural and urban areas. Rural and urban areas. Okay, very small topic. And then we would be doing regionalism. And then I believe we would be moving to social change. Just write down the definition of social elite. Definition of social elite. Social elites are those people. Social elites are those people who hold position of prestige. Social elites are those people who hold positions of prestige, power, or influence. Social elites are those people who hold position of prestige, power, or influence due to their status in society. Due to their status in society. Due to their status in society. Status may be the virtue of status may be the virtue of caste. Status may be the virtue of caste, lineage, knowledge. Status may be the virtue of caste, lineage, knowledge, behavior and wealth. Behavior and wealth. Write down the definition of political elites. The definition of political elites. Political elites derive their position Political elites derive their position due to power to influence, due to the power to influence. Just that. Political elites derive their position due to the power to influence. Due to the power to influence. Okay, so when it comes to social and political elites, it started with the land holding caste. Those who are, what you call land holding caste, they were the one who were actually, what you call having great, they were wielding the greater amount of power. Of course, the very idea of dominant caste is also applicable in this. But with time, as this what you call decentralization, everything is coming, Panchayati Raj institution. So the ruler power hierarchy is changing because state gets this, what you call, if you know that there are what you call fixed provisions and state, state can make, what you call, there are some guiding provision in PRI. Panchayati Raj institution with two kind of provision. One are fixed and other is the one in which state can, what we call, provide on its own. It would be straight discretionary, right? So in that, what is happening, state based on their, what we call demography, they are going for reservation. As a result of which, it was initially entrenched with only people who were in the, you know, what you call ritual hierarchy mein jo superior the, or either if they are having greater land holding, even only they were entrenched. But now it is moving downwards as well. Okay, so that is what we are going to write in the rural area. In rural areas, the elite consists of well-to-do farmers. The elite consists of well-to-do farmers, ritually superior community, well-to-do farmers, just comma after that, ritually superior community, dominant caste and trading class. Consist of well-to-do farmers, ritually superior community, dominant caste and trading class. After full stop. Kinship and caste play an important role in rural politics. Kinship and caste play an important role in rural politics. However, rural elite leadership today does not come from ritually higher placed class alone, caste alone, and it is becoming more secular. For example, in Haryana and Western UP, Jat community and other landed OBC community, are the new rural elite. In urban areas, one of the thing that has been most prominent is the achieved status. It was always the achieved status which led to the formation of elite. Okay, most of the time that has been the case. So that is what we are going to write in one line, that in urban areas, achieved status is the primary factor determining the social and political elite. Achieved status is the primary factor in determining the social and political elites. After full stop, another contributing factor, after full stop, another contributing factor is the changing consumption habit. Changing consumption habit. Changing consumption habit. Consumption would range from anything, like the way if you're going for English education outside India, if you're having real estate in prominent places, so all these things are going to be what you call affecting whether you do belong to that social or political elites or not. Okay. So now next topic is regionalism. In that I would be giving two prominent perspectives. You guys would be coming up with what we call prominent instance of it from your own. Okay. Sorry. Again, regionalism, just definition you have to write, and then we would be going with two prominent perspective, two opposite pole, what you call perspective, which would just cover everything. Regionalism is defined as a phenomenon. Regionalism is defined as a phenomenon in which people's loyalty is depending upon regional factor such as language, regional factors such as language, race, geography and so on. Again, the first one is the positive one, in which the Prerna Singh would be saying that social development depend upon the regionalism. Prerna Singh. Again, this thinker, you won't find in the what we call usual notes. Actually, this came in the Hindu. Okay, in the article named as Social Development and Regionalism. You could just write the work Social Development and Regionalism. Prerna Singh, Social Development and Regionalism. Social development and regionalism. So basically C would be saying that in South India there is a greater amount of regionalism, and henceforth people are united and they are putting their interest as a combined front towards the government, and henceforth since the solidarity is more based on anything, she is not caring whether it is divisive or not, she is just caring that solidarity is coming up, and henceforth people are united, and what we call government has to take heed of the problems of them, and henceforth greater degree of regionalism has resulted in what we call disparity between development in south, coastal states or the hinterland. So that is what Prerna Singh has said. Okay, just write it down. According to her, states in South India showcase greater degree of regionalism, which has resulted in showcase greater degree of regionalism, which has resulted in stronger solidarity among the people, This resulted in stronger solidarity among the people. This resulted in government becoming bound to work on the demands pushed by people. Made the government bound to work on the demands pushed by the people. So that is how you see explaining that regionalism is good. We are going to write what Dipankar Gupta has said, which is just exactly opposite, and he would be saying that, what we call, ultimately it is bad and it is bound to, what we call, lead to multiple nationality. So just write it down. Okay, no, Dipankar Gupta is the one you would be just, what we call, you would be writing this is third, and this would be the second one, Partho Chatterjee. Dipankar Gupta you would write as a conclusion. This is the guy who has, his conclusion would be better. According to Partho Gupta or Partho Chatterjee, regionalism is a challenge to nationalism. Pretty much self-explanatory because this is the popular notion, okay? So the third one is Dipankar Gupta, which could be utilized in the conclusion. According to him, just write in the Dipankar Gupta section, according to him, regionalism may not be necessarily anti-people or anti-nation. Regionalism may not be necessarily anti-people or anti-nation. After full stop, regionalism becomes problematic. When it borders on chauvinism, when it borders on chauvinism, an interest of the region, when it borders on chauvinism, an interest of a region are branded as diametrically opposite, to the interest of other regions. Example is anti-North Indian drive by Maharashtra Nav Nirman Sena, MNS. Not the good MNS, okay? This is the bad MNS. Anti-North Indian drive by the MNS. We have a good MNS also. Okay, so now we are going to the last part, and that is social change. See, whenever a question on social change comes, so I use this called as institution-based approach. Okay, we have to write an answer, and it should be diverse. So what we should do is that we should be, they would be just asking you how law has led to change, how constitution has led, how education has brought change. Something on that line, they would be just asking you a question. Okay, they would be asking you to relate how this process has led to some kind of social change. So for that, most of the time, what you have to do is institution. You should be knowing what are the institutions that exist in society and how it has been impacted by the specific process. Okay, an institution based approach is very much easy because in the paper one, the list of institution is only given. Politics and society, classes, caste, right? The stratification started from chapter number 5. Stratification says there could be caste, class and politics, then politics and society, then religion, then family. So basically all this becomes an institution only. You have to comment on each of this institution to make your answer as diverse as possible. Even in work, you have to talk about work and leisure as well. How leisure is also getting affected by this particular what you call process. When you are covering all these process, aspects, then I believe your answer would be pretty much diverse. Okay, write down the first question that we are going to attempt in this. Write short note on. Write short note on. Write short note on empowerment through right to education. Empowerment through right to education. Empowerment through right to education. Okay, empowerment, how would you define empowerment? Has anybody read the last year economic survey? Empowerment, it has defined the empowerment, women empowerment in some certain format. Again, these are the definition. Why I take all such kind of definition? Because it's the broadest one. Okay, so it has defined based on the agency, attitude and outcome. Okay, so if you are going to measure something, if you are trying to understand whether this phenomenon has actually occurred or not, women empowerment, social empowerment or anything, then you should be, what you call, doing such an exercise based on 3 parameters. Agency means you are taking a decision on your own. You have the decision making capability. You have the decision making capability. Okay, attitude could be of the, own class, own group and other group. Is the, what we call, own group means, for example, if it is women empowerment, are women actually, what we call, choosing to go for empowerment or not? Are they actually going for such a step in which they are, what we call, going for greater amount of power or not? And other group means whether, is there any reaction to it or not? Are they supportive or are they, not supporting this process? Okay, and outcome is the basic parameters like any database collection to understand whether empowerment has occurred or not. Okay, so this is the basic framework of empowerment which I found in economic survey pretty much interesting. Okay. So as usual, this question introduction would be a definition of empowerment. In body, we would be moving and we would be talking about various points. So I've written various points, then I would be requesting you guys to also help in it. Okay. The first one is breakdown of culture of poverty. The first one is breakdown of culture of poverty. Again, this breakdown of culture of poverty has been stated by Kailash Satyarthi. Kailash Satyarthi got Nobel Prize. Even this guy Gunnar Myrdal also got Nobel Prize. Okay, वो Myrdal का हमने नाम लिखा था, उसने भी Nobel Prize जीता था. Did you guys found out that guy who got Nobel Prize for his PhD thesis? Long back I gave you. Okay, it was D. Broglie, okay, for the wave theory. और वो सच्चा सौदा देखा आप लोग ने? पढ़ा क्या है सच्चा सौदा? ओके काफी बिजी रह रहे हो लगता है सब लोग. See, culture of poverty, again we have to understand, it was given by, the term culture of poverty was given by Oscar Lewis, okay? So you have to write extra. You have to explain on your own, but still you have to write that this theory was given by Oscar Lewis. Culture of poverty. Okay, just an elaboration of the point. According to Oscar Lewis, just write down culture of poverty. But please understand, you are not going to write in actual exam, you are not going to elaborate this. You are going to elaborate in it, in such a way that it is going to explain what is culture of poverty as well as how education is removing it. Okay? Because our main focal point is not culture of poverty. I am explaining it so that you can utilize it in other exam as well, in other answers as well. So according to Oscar Lewis, poor values exist among people living below poverty line, exist among people living in below poverty line, and henceforth poverty is perpetuated through generation, and henceforth poverty is perpetuated through generation in such a strata. In such a strata. So basically it is just saying that the value system itself is different, and it is of poor, it is not that good that it will actually help the people, come out of poverty. And that is where education, if education would be, two things. Education would be taking care of what we call knowledge plus values, right? I mean, ideally that is the entire thing, knowledge plus value. So if that is the case, then such culture of poverty can be removed through education. And hence for the statement given by Kailash Satyarthi that the culture of poverty would be reduced or removed by what we call education. The second one is inter and intra-generational mobility. Education leads to inter and intra-generational mobility. Inter and intra-generational mobility. So if you remember, we did this very small diagram by Blow and Duncan, right? In which father's education, father's job, and then son's student, son's education, son's job. On that we have made a diagram. Pretty much we could utilize that diagram here also. Okay? I'm just trying to collect paper on paper to here itself. The third one is right to education act as an RTE, you could just write RTE, act as an ideological state apparatus. Act as a ideological state apparatus. Ideological state apparatus to control deviance. To control deviance. Okay. See, ideological state apparatus idea was given by Althusser, okay? So this guy is a new Marxist, and he is going to say that state would be using consent and coercion. So in consent, this is the ideological state apparatus, okay? Again, just a thought which is not exactly required here, but it should be a general knowledge so that you can use it in other question as well. Fourth point, it is one of the step towards RTE, you could just write RTE is one of the step towards building social and cultural capital. Building social and cultural capital. Building social and cultural capital. So who gave this idea of social capital, cultural capital and economic capital? Bourdieu, right? So Pierre Bourdieu would be talking about these three types of capital. Pierre Bourdieu's idea of capital also becomes one of the critique of elite theory. Why? Because according to him, these three, what you call people who would be, having this three capital, if they are from different group, they would be competing between each other. Okay? So this guy theory of capital, social, cultural and economic, becomes a critique to elite theory as well. Okay? If this three capital is held by different section of people, then they would be competing rather than forming a power elite. Okay? Just an extra knowledge. Next one is the midday meal scheme. The midday meal scheme, which is part of RTE, is also ensuring the physical and mental well-being. Compulsory education. Next point. Compulsory education acts as a check against child labor. Another point is education enables active public participation, which is required for an efficient democracy. Active public participation, which is required for a efficient democracy. See here all the facts and figures of RT. See RT has, I believe, finished 10 years. Okay, so it becomes prominent for GS mains also and for GS, but for optional as well. Okay, so RT guys should be ready because it is 1 decade has already over and many reports have also come. 10 years of RT बोल के एक report भी आया हुआ है, तो वो सब report को आप देखेंगे, you should be able to come up with facts and figures also. For example, gross enrollment ratio कितना चल रहा है, ठीक है, how much is the dropout ratio, all this thing you should be able to note it down. That would make your answer more exhaustive as well. Okay, there are some negative part also. Should we add something to the positive? I'm asking for your opinion from your side. Did we miss something when it comes to education and social change, or maybe empowerment perspective? Yes, primary socialization we could say. Especially if you could say, one thing that actually happens, co-ed schools, government, especially, co-ed schools would, gender socialization and gender, what you call, identity को assimilation में बहुत help करता है. So you could write that. I believe it's a good point to write. Next point is could be co-ed schools helps in understanding and sensitizing one gender, helps in understanding and sensitizing one gender about the other gender, So gender sensitization is one of the goal that is reached through RTE, gender sensitization. Anything else? You could write some of the negatives. I've just written in very short points. First one is the quality. Pretty much famous, the Pratham report can be quoted. First is the problem of quality. Problem of quality, okay? The entire Pratham report can be used to elaborate. I hope everyone is familiar with it. Second one is burden on girls increases. Second one you could just write burden on girls increases because they are also responsible for household activities. Because they are also have to manage the household activities. The dropout is also a concern especially for adolescent girls. Dropout among adolescent girls. You could just write dropout and then especially among adolescent girls due to lack of facilities, such as separate toilets, due to lack of facilities such as separate toilets, female faculties, etc. When it comes to dropouts among adolescents, I believe you should be coming up with multiple factors, okay? You should have some idea because this is a, what you call major challenge when it comes to RT, okay? Do go through it. If you get some chance, do go through it. What are the actual reasons which actually causes such a problem, okay? Write down the next question. Again, it's a short notes. Write short note on Constitution as a living document for social change. Constitution as a living document for social change. Constitution as a living document for social change. Oh, I have one definition of social change as well, which I believe you should guys be writing. Again, one of the broad definition. This definition is by Jones, okay? I don't know what is the first name, only it is written Jones. You could just write according to Jones, social change is a term used to describe variation or modification Social change is a term used to describe variation or modification of any aspect of social process of any aspect of social process social pattern, describe variation or modification in any aspect of social process, social pattern, social interaction, process, then social pattern, social interaction, and social organization. Okay. So after the definition of social change, you could just write what are the points which I have written, and then you guys can add upon it. Okay. First number point, this is a complete question which I actually wrote. My friends who used to peer review me, they used to do one thing, they would just text me on WhatsApp ki you have to write this note in 5 minutes and send me. So at any time, it used to be just random time. I might be even, hanging out with friends, or maybe whatever I was doing, they used to do this exercise. I actually believe so much in, answer writing. Why? Because it actually, forces your brain to think, okay, especially with a particular direction. It's like a very good exercise that one should be doing. Better than a coffee, especially when it comes to morning. Anyways, just write it down. We are going to write down the points. The constitution is a source of, first point it is, okay. You could have any, after body, in body you could have one line, but that could be any line. I'm just going to start with the main part. The constitution is a source of our rights, right to vote. Right to vote. Rajni Kothari in his work, after full stop, Rajni Kothari in his work on interaction of caste and politics, Rajni Kothari in his work on interaction of caste and politics mentions how democratic rights is bringing secularization of caste, mention how democratic rights is bringing secularization of caste and making Indian democracy more representative. And making Indian democracy more representative. Second point, Yogendra Singh has noted how equality in gender sphere is brought after independence. How equality in gender sphere is brought after independence, as equality was a fundamental right provided by the Constitution. Gender sphere is brought after independence, as equality was a fundamental right provided by the Constitution. Third point, Constitution of India also provides us right to freedom. As noted by Anthony Giddens, in High Modernity, in high modernity. After modernity, he talks about high modernity. In high modernity, one of the social movement is against state surveillance. Is against state surveillance. The right to privacy judgment. The right to privacy judgment is the latest instance which was the result of such a movement against surveillance. Is the latest instance which was the result of such a movement against surveillance. Number 4, the fourth point. Constitution also envisaged social, economic and political justice. Social, economic and political justice. These ideas are in contrast of the characteristics of traditional society, in contrast with the characteristics of traditional society, in contrast with the characteristics of traditional society, as given by Yogendra Singh. As given by Yogendra Singh. So Yogendra Singh told that hierarchy, holoism, transcendence and continuity, these are the 4 characteristics. On the other hand, our constitution is just offering something which is in contrast with the traditional society. So change is bound to happen. Something on that line, okay? After that, just next point you could just write. At the same time, we are still away from achieving many of these ideals set by our constitution. Many of these ideals set by our constitution. According to Dumont, Louis Dumont, LD guy. According to Dumont, people in India are more guided by Manusmriti than the constitution. Okay, so whenever again, one thing I've told about the institution based approach, right? The other approach when we can talk about all this question is another approach which I just came to know from my friend just before the class, is that constitution, law and social change. Whenever question on all this thing comes, okay, then 3 aspects can always be talked about. First is that it would be starting some change. Okay. Second thing, it would be supporting some change. Already happening change, it might be supporting it. And third, it would be stopping something that is undesirable. Okay. So whenever constitution, law and social change, something on that line. Okay, you would be asked to, you know, what you call, you would be asked how this law is bringing some social change, or how constitution is bringing social change. So these three things could be covered very well. Okay, three areas that could be covered. First is, it could be starting something new. Okay, for example, untouchability practice, article 17 properly has banned something very new, okay, at the time of independence. It would be supporting something. For example, women fight to inequality, okay, it has supported it by actually bringing concrete articles in the constitution. Article 15 3 है कि 4 है, कौन सा है? Which one is for women and children? 4, right? So you could see that they're right, you know, what you call, something that was not left in the Indian national movement, it was carried forward even after independence, and something it would be just bringing it to an end. Okay, so these three, you know, formats, if you are able to bring, I believe this would just cover most of the thing that constitution or law is bringing in Indian society. Okay, so two format. The first one is, of course, is the institution format, which is applicable to all the question of what you call social change, in which you would be talking how it is bringing change in caste, class, village, you know, what you call, gender, family, religion, politics, everything you could just bring ahead. And the second, you know, format in which you could write your answer to bring different perspective would be this. Okay, there are a few topics from challenges to social transformation. I believe it is the last topic. Okay, after the social change. So we are going to, you know, do few topics from that. Challenges of social transformation. The topic, challenges of social transformation. Okay. So write down in that first one, the major consequences of development related displacement. Development related displacement, a very popular keyword, development related displacement. So what are the major consequences of development related displacement? Write down the first one. Displacement has a domino effect. Displacement has a domino effect. And primary displacement leads to secondary and tertiary displacement. So basically it is suggesting that one displacement might lead to multiple displacement as well. It also, second point, it also results in, again you would see how the institution based approach is used here, okay? It also results in disruption in kinship relation, gender impacts and loss of livelihood. Disruption in kinship relation, gender impact and loss of livelihood. Family and kinship ties become fragile. Family and kinship ties become fragile. Third point, cultural conflict also ensues that when displaced people move to other areas. Fourth point, displacement of people engaged in agriculture leads to conversion of people from self cultivators to wage laborers. Next point, poverty incidence also increases. Next point, according to Mridula Singh, rehabilitation policies are often blind to the rights of women. Next point, to the rights of women, and this is a study by Walter Fernandez which you could utilized. Okay, Walter Fernandez has also studied Panchayati Raj institution, so you could actually, I would request you guys to go through his study of PRI as well. What he has exactly said about PRI, you can go through. In short, basically Walter Fernandez says in PRI is that our society is still caste ridden, inequality ridden. In that, what we call the structure is not going to change even if we impose something which is, what we call just supporting equality. PRI would be asking you for equality, but our structure, society's structure is not yet ready to receive it. Something on that line he has studied. Do go through it if you get a chance on PRI, his study. The tribal one I'm just going to say. According to him, tribal and ethnic groups are often at the receiving end of displacement. Are often at the receiving end of displacement. According to, he found that in his study in Maharashtra, he found that in his study in Maharashtra, he found that only 15.8% of tribal families, only 15.8% of tribal families were given land after displacement. Were given land after displacement. He estimated that after full stop. He estimated that around 3 crore people have been displaced by developmental activities. 3 crore people have been displaced by developmental activities in the past 50 years. Around 3 crore people have been displaced by developmental activities in past 50 years, and 42% of them were tribal. And 42% of them were tribal. Okay, this is all I know about paper 1 and paper 2. Done. So we are going to summarize what exactly we learned in this entire exercise. Okay, how we should be, it's just a summary of how we should be approaching to answer writing. I will try to formulate, what exactly we have done in this classes. So starting from introduction. Introduction could be 3 types. First and most one that is used is the definition one. Okay, I usually go with the definition, and if there is an example for it, go with the definition plus example format. Okay, the next one is the current context. If you are able to come up with a reason why this question was asked, because it was in newspaper or somewhere, the second type of introduction that one could have is the current context. Okay, the third one is the most difficult, and usually I never have utilized. I've used it once or twice, and that is a code based. For example, the history one we did, or maybe even the common sense also, we have written some codes, right? Those things could be utilized. Coming to the body, there could be multiple format when it comes to body, but your aim always should be to bring maximum number of perspective. Okay, perspective will give you marks whether or not you are writing thinker or not. Okay, maximum number of perspective. Okay, this could be when it comes to theory based question, in which they would be just asking you ki write about Durkheim study of this, all those questions which are pretty much theoretical. In that, your format should be, first would be thesis, the theory that is asked, then its critique in the form of antithesis, then an Indian example, India, world and Indian example if possible, okay, and then your conclusion. Okay. Then there were questions which was based on, what you call two discipline, just two discipline, whatever, sociology and economics, something on that line. Okay, if that is the question, you can always write in the format of similarity, differences, convergence, and then conclusion. And conclusion, I believe I have told you, since only one would be asked, and you can always conclude in the form of give and take between various discipline. Okay, so that is another format we could utilize. Then is the change, whenever change or impact. Whenever the question is coming on change or impact, you could go with the institution based approach. Institution based approach, in which you would be writing the various institutions starting from caste, family, village, education, religion, and so on. Okay, all the topics that you have learned. And then yes, of course, the other one which I have talked about is the starting, supporting, and stopping, something on that format. So most of my question and answer has been in this, and only in this formula. Okay, let me just check. Yeah, and the schools of sociology we should be bringing in the perspective. In this, there's 5 schools of sociology which we have learned. I'm really surprised at how come what I know has extended to 20 lecture. I think I hardly know anything. So basically in Sacha Sauda what exactly happens is that the what we call Guru Nanak was the son of a trader. Okay, not trader, but he was like accountant in one of the what you call kingdom. He was the accountant of some kingdom, something on that line. So his father thinks that my son is not at all interested in what you call worldly activities. Let's still try to bring him in trade. Okay, let's try to involve him in trade. So he gives him at that time like around 20 rupees or something. Okay, so he asked one of his employees to accompany him and go to some other what you call some other place and get the thing which will give him the maximum benefit. Okay, the father asked him, he is not specifying him anything, he just saying that I should be what you call getting maximum benefit from such a transaction. Okay, so he sends his son Guru Nanak, and that guy is going on. Okay, then they while passing through, while going to that place, in the middle they passes through a village. That village was plague ridden, and there people were at a very what we call deplorable condition. They were facing hunger issues and everything. So this guy Guru Nanak says that my father has asked me to do a trade of the maximum benefit. What could be more benefit if I am able to what you call bring happiness or bring betterment in the life of these people. So he goes, he buys food and everything for them and distribute, and that is the actual Sacha Sauda done in Guru Nanak story. Okay, all else are just essay, and that exactly where the Sacha Sauda was done. That is where what you call the Guru Nanak Sacha Sauda Darbar or something Gurudwara is also being built. Okay, anything else do you want to know? I could speak for a few more minutes if you want. Otherwise, class is formally over. The course also. Okay. Okay. Yes, we could. But again, whenever you are trying to use thinkers, please try to be very precise. You should have a direct correlation. Okay, when we are using thinkers, see, thinkers like Martin could be used anywhere. Function, dysfunction, latent function, manifest function, se sab jagah lag jayega. But if you are using it, it should not be too much far-fetched ki you are making the connection itself is taking too long. If you are having direct thinkers, and I believe most of the line that I told were coming from thinkers only. Okay, even I tried from my perspective. If you are able to do so in your line, I believe it is a well and good exercise. Okay? Yes. Okay, the prominent changes which I felt that I did was, the first was improvement in short answer. Okay? Very much, one should focus. For example, if you are giving, if you are just saying, you should have in your mind how much time you are allocating for each part, right? So I used to think I would be finishing that big question in half an hour each. So it would be taking around 1.5 hours, but it is bound to go beyond that. Okay, it will take around 1 hour 40 minutes, something on that line. But you have to give sufficient amount of time for this 10 markers, because 10 markers has actually brought change. Okay, and you should aim to, what you call, and again, whenever it's a 10 markers, maximum number of perspective. You write more perspective in 10 markers, it is bound to give you more marks. Okay, because maximum of the question of 10 markers would be current affairs based. It would not be any theory. Hardly some theory would come, like, okay, suicide or, what you call sacred, profane, something few would come. But around, if 10 question is there, around, I believe after 3 or 4 question, it would be mostly current affairs based. Or in paper 2, it would be entirely current affairs based, no thinker at all. Only 1 to something, for example, Curie characterization of caste, something very less, more, it would be. So bring more perspective. That is bound to give you more marks, okay? And when it comes to, what we call, no distinction between paper 1 and paper 2. Because this time I believe we did this exercise in that 20 days we were doing the same thing only. I was never limited to paper 1 whenever I was writing question of paper 2 or something on that line. It was going vice versa. Okay. And then yes, of course, bringing multiple perspective in even big question also helped me. Okay. Previously what happened is that, I read Tusranshu sir, and if you know Tusranshu sir notes, then he has so many, thinkers. And paper 1 it is sufficient. Like paper 1, I remember there was a question on mobility in 2017. I had around 25 thinkers to write. So I had to select only 12 thinkers out of it. Ultimately I ended up writing 12 thinkers. Okay. But then again, what exactly was happening? See, this is what you realize later. I felt that what exactly I did correct, because in last year itself in paper 1 I was 150 above I got. Okay. I thought what exactly went right and why did I get less in paper 2. I actually understood that, see, in Indian thinkers, even if you're writing, chances that multiple perspective will come is less, because most of it is not, that depth of sociology has not come in Indian, thinkers part. So henceforth I started thinking, one of the reason I get good marks in paper 1 was because of the thinkers which I selected among the 25 or whatever thinkers I knew for a particular question, helped me bring out different perspective. And that is where I started going for multiple perspective rather than thinkers. I left the thinker approach, in which I might be knowing multiple thinkers, but if they are not bringing, good number of perspective, I would not be going for. And that is the reason, even when we are doing paper 2, I was very much limited. I was giving you thinkers and theories, but they were very much limited only and unless if they are adding something to your answer rather than decreasing it. Okay. Apart from that, yeah, of course, some innovation. For example, using of prelims data, facts and figure, whatever I knew, I always wrote it down. Okay, making graphs. For example, the question on tribal, I would just go ahead. There is a question which I gave, unity and diversity in tribes. Okay, if you'll write it, and having something in your mind, okay, always have some, rough idea, how do you placing your answer. Okay, it's a 10 marker, so it would be having around what we call 80% of one page and full page would be given. 2 pages would be given, in which 80% would be, what we call free. In next page, entire page would be there. So your mind should be, having that framework, ki my introduction would reach up to 50% of the first page, then rest it would cover, and then entire areas would be covered. Somehow just, make, what you call a picture in your map, how you picture in your mind, how you would be covering the entire area. A space would be covered and utilized, because you rarely get a space. And that is where, if unity and diversity of tribes have come, for example, you get this chance to, प्रीलिम्स का फैक्ट्स के अनुसार आप लोग को पता है कि इंडिया में ट्राइब्स कहाँ पे प्रोमिनेंट, आप भील, गोंड और वो जारवेज, ओंग सभी को आप मार्क कर दोगे, तो ये मैप जस्ट शोकेसिंग दैट लोकेशन वुड एक्चुअली आई बिलीव बेनिफिटेड. I'm just suggesting that if you have this, in your mind, how you would be filling up all those, spaces that is being given, that is also one thing that one should be having in your mind. So most of the things that I did was on those lines itself. I mean, nothing else. I didn't went for any new sources. Interestingly, my friends, we were giving interview, and my friends who were, who had better guidance, maybe that could be the case, they joined what you call test series during the interview part, because interview is pretty much less work to do. So they joined some test series at that time and improved their, answer writing. I did nothing. I was like, kya karna hai bolke? And then again I did previous year question only. Thankfully it worked out well. So that is the thing, I believe, multiple perspective. And again, I was going through one of my friend's paper. She came to, got me, she came for, getting evaluation from me. Okay, so I was going through his picture, and some work was done. I believe it was some changes it was asked. I believe it was secularization and change in Indian society, something on that line. It was the question. When I was going through his, what you call answer, I found that 3 of the points that she has written was based on religion only. But just, we did a multiple exercise that what exactly secularization is. It is not only religion and it's not related to religion. It is also about individual domain. It is also about differentiation in society. It is also about existence of multiple religion, right? Like all those things, those perspective, if it is missing, then you are just missing the entire concept of secularization. I hope everyone is getting. So if a examiner is going through a paper, he would be looking, okay, secularization hai, 4 meaning hai. He would be looking for that 4 meaning. But when he would be going through your instance, he would be going through, okay, religion, religion, religion. Although you have written sufficient number of points, you have written 3 points, but ultimately it reduced to 1 point. I hope everyone is getting right. So that kind of thing should not be, missed. Henceforth, a very broad, understanding of a general topic is very important. For example, if secularization is there, or nationalism. What exactly nationalism? में अभी हम लोग ने 4 या 5 thinker किए, right? All those 5 thinkers were in disagreement or providing different perspective. So if you are writing a question on nationalism, you should evaluate yourself. Are you missing any of the perspective that the thinkers has said? If you are missing, then your marks is bound to get decreased. Okay. So that is some of my, what you call tits and bits, which I could actually summarize. Anything else? See, for me, mostly, I would say it was a conscious effort, okay. But this time, I felt ki, I should be going bit bold, okay. Plus, my, what you call composition school has been very good in the GS also. I used to write, very differently in GS also. So I felt, ultimately you have to answer the demand of the question. If you are able to do it very well, if you are able to justify it, then why should we have any inhibition? That is what I felt, and I felt ki let's go berserk. That is what my thought process was. That's true, that's true. See, that is where, maybe that school's idea, I used to say, schools may, if you are able to think like GS, write like optional, has always been one of my guidance whenever I didn't know a question. And short answer is a compulsory question, so you are bound to write. You don't have any option in that, right? So think like GS and write like optional, में आपको school से इस्तेमाल कर पाओगे. You would be, ending up with using functionalist school, conflict school, because you don't know thinkers. But you can easily arrange, right? I believe I've given basic pillars of all the schools I have discussed, so that you guys are able to apply it. So I believe with that you are able to bring multiple perspective, it is totally fine. Especially in paper 2, please do not have any innovation, my dear, because chances that you would be coming with actual thinker for that is pretty rare. Especially if the question is asked from Me Too movement, tell me which thinkers will you use. It's pretty much obvious, right, that we would be using something from the schools only, a general idea of the schools only. We don't have any specific thinkers for that. So that is where I am telling you, multiple perspectives bound to give you more marks. Please do not go too much into the thinkers part. Even in the question in which, for example, I used to mix, like initially I would be writing some thinkers, which I know, and then I would be moving to the GS. Perspective should not be missed at any cost. So I would be just adding, randomly GS based perspective also and finishing the answer at any cost. So perspective should be your goal all the time. Anything else? See, when it comes to previous year paper, I would just suggest you to, utilize it in notes making. Many of my friends are still asking me how to make notes, and they are not able to, which is important thing, which is thing to be right, which is, which things should be added to the notes or which is not to be added. I believe still you use previous year as a key. Previous year as a key will help you select which things are important. So I believe even notes making, suppose I hope, if you guys have not attended the first lecture or not, but I have told 3 steps for notes making. The first step was to go through the notes just as it is, plain text. Not too much of utilization. If you are understanding well, if you are not understanding, more well. Just go through it. Then go through the previous year question. Think now, go to the notes again as an unseen passage exercise. Your brain would be, you would be having in the background of your mind what are the questions being asked. You would be now looking for answer. So that will help you select the important parts. things from where question comes. Always there is a 80-20 rule, okay? 80% of the syllabus से ही सारा आपका question आएगा, कोई कोई एकदम आएगा ही नहीं, वैसा types का होगा. I mean, you'd be able to do entire paper. So that thing will help you, you know, to understand those important part. And then yes, of course, that would, once you are understood these are the important parts, then go for, you know, what you call closing your eyes, recollecting it. And then yes, of course, making notes as crisp as possible. Okay, so previous year paper, I believe, should be used as much as possible. And any, you know, institute, I don't suggest that, you know, institute are not bad, but still the, you know, to reach them that level of question making, I don't believe, you know, they have that much of even faculty or resources with them. So stick with the previous year question. Be, you know, very much, you know, having idea of the previous year question at any cost. Okay. And please revise this, whatever we have learned, as soon as possible, because I won't be there and this lecture won't be repeated. Okay, so just revise it, don't leave it. One revision must be done. Okay, just don't leave this text, you know, whatever notes you have made today, and don't go to Tusransu also directly. Most of the important parts for Tusransu I have told only in class. So first revise the entire, I believe it would be 100 or 150 odd pages, or whatever 300 or 200 pages it would be. Just revise it first, maybe revise it again, then only go for extra thing. Okay, and do not leave it as it is, you know. And for anything, anyway, you guys have my ID, so you can text me at least up to August 26. I might be able to help you guys. Okay, anything else? Okay, so we are the schedule for general studies and prelims, you know, general studies during mains preparation. So if I tell you my actual story, it would be very different one. Okay, so this time I did, you know, I used to study only GS most of the time. First month to padna nahi hai, that is the ceremony, right? So first month I didn't study. Then came the, you know, result, August, I mean somewhere around the result came, and then I started studying. Then I thought ki morning hours, in the morning hours, 20 days, 3 hours each. Daily I will study 3 hours and 20 days. I would be finishing sociology. Because I had very short notes. My notes are pretty much short. In the back end, it's only this much notes. Hardly 50 or 60 odd pages, okay? So that much I only had to revise. So I ultimately finished this time also sociology in 60 hours. But again, it is bad thing to do. Pretty much unrealistic if it comes to, if your notes is not prepared in that manner, okay? So I would suggest ki see, in the first month, whenever prelims is finished, the first month should be optional, essay and ethics. 3 things. And then the next month should be the GS, leftover GS. Okay? And you should not be leaving the what you have learned in the first month. You should be carrying it forward, but in short format. And then yes, of course, in the third month that you will have hardly 15 to 20 days, you should be doing the entire revision. So in that way, used to be my friends who have done it really well. You know what you call the ideal way, the hard-working way, who have done it, they have been using this formula only. First month has always been them for optional, and then in what you call combination with ethics and essay, and then they have moved to other GS part. So that has been the normal form. When it comes to, I mean, my cases has been different, so I might not even be able to say what I did before prelims, because I didn't study sociology before prelims at all. Okay, so I might not be the right person to even say on that perspective. But anyway, see, ultimately what is the, what you call maximum damage to syllabus. Syllabus khatam hona chahiye, right? So whatever suits your palate, I believe one should go ahead with that combination. There's no fixed, combination key. Yes, of course, one has to do this many times of revision. If you're able to write good answer, and again, one of the things which I've always tell to my friends also, that please improve with every question. Do not wait for improvement with every test series, every test in a test series. Like test 1 के बाद test 2 में improve करना है, ऐसा कोई fixed parameter मत रखिए आप लोग. हमेशा आपको try करना हर एक question के साथ improve करने के लिए. Because that is where actually improvement is going to lie. And for that, you can actually write the same question again. Write the question in the test series. See, never have this, एक कोई चीज फंडामेंटल होता है, आपको 8 मिनट में लिखना है, तो वो प्रैक्टिस कभी डिसिप्लिन तोड़ना नहीं है. ठीक है, तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आप ना, if you have made up your mind कि no, I would be improving with every question, so you are becoming lax, you are writing every question in 15 minutes. That is not, should not be the idea. You join a test series, if you are joining it, do write the entire test in the stipulated amount of time, but then come in your home and then write it again. Every question which you could think can be improved, write it again. And I've seen my friends, whoever I've suggested them, I've seen visible improvement in them. I told that one of my friend who was just, he's my flatmate, he's applying for mains. I told him, what do you do? 5 question you select. Then, use the trigger point. I hope we have done this trigger point exercise, in which if there is a, what you call story of, what you call development, I would always say make a timeline diagram, right? These are some trigger diagram, right? Trigger point, ki haan, ye trigger hai, so there should be some, follow up also. So such trigger, use those, you be very much vigilant of those triggers in your answer and convert those trigger into diagrams. Okay? Then it would become initially a 2-step process, and then it would become reduced to 1 single step process. So those things I believe one should be taking care. And essay one should be really taking care of. Essay is very important. Essays, if you write well, then you would be, scoring so much marks in essay that it would not be even equivalent to what 2 GS paper you would be getting. So it's a very golden thing to do. And essay, you have, again, essay also I felt, write multiple perspective, again, bound to get more marks. It might not be, your continuity might not be coming. But if you're writing so many things from different perspective, marks is bound to increase, because that is what administration is. You should be able to understand one concept from multiple dimension. More the dimension, more so your depth in understanding, as well as your what you call acumen. So I believe all these things should be taken care about. Okay. Anything else? You can ask me about love relationship also. Maybe golfing, sports, anything. Case study, okay, case study, I believe you were not in the class or not, I don't know. But anyway, in case study, I've told that day also, right? 3 types of case study will come. Government, corporate, individual. Have a formula for that. How to build a formula? I always go with multiple institute test series. Okay? Multiple institute test series will have model answer. Model answer mein they would be giving, see, ultimately you are going to give a short-term solution, long-term solution, a stakeholder. All these things are pretty basic, which everyone does. But you should have some points to write in that. For that, I use model answer. I would just be, getting model answer, and then I would be extracting what are the things I could write. And then based on the question, my mind is already framed to answer in 3 types and 3 formulas I might be having. I'll be just utilizing it. That's it. And again, see, case study, again, you gives you a space. One more, see, case study, generally, what you call 15 markers would be having only 3 pages. Case study will give you 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6 pages also. I don't understand. I've never been able to comprehend that, actually, because I never wrote test series. So all the things were new only for me in the actual test, mains. So I was like, okay, what should I do? So in that respect, I felt ki, if you are able to, write some test series or get it evaluated from your peer, do it. And please try to bring more, utilize that space. Maybe you might be, adding something, or maybe go through, what you call previous year toppers paper also. Then I believe it would be a good thing to do. And previous year paper topper also, not for toppers paper also, me and my friend also did this. Okay, like we were thinking of, going through what are the best practices of previous year toppers. So we're a friend of 4. We did this exercise. So in that case, what we did is that we never, what you call, देखो अगर बैठ के तुम बोलोगे ना कि ये पेपर तो है घंटा कुछ अच्छा है नहीं इससे तो मैं लिख लूँगा मतलब that would come, okay, bound to, because you won't feel too much, greatness in that answer if you are just evaluating it from your perspective. But please do one thing, and that is what I always call is the active one. Write answer on your own. Select the topics, pretty much simple one. Write an answer on your own in 8 minutes, and then try to see the gap. That is the gap you have to fill. Okay, that is what we did in our case. We 4 used to sit, we never criticize. Criticize to yeah, pura matlab, we could criticize even, Einstein and Gandhi also. But that is not the case, right? So we actually started this doing actively. Writing answer on your own and then seeing the gap. That was more beneficial for us. Highly beneficial, because in that way we were actually, like toppers have actually done things, If it is institute model answer, they might be from faculty. They are very good, but there's a difference between, reproducing it in 3 hours. So that's why please, use benchmark as previous year question and previous year topper answer. Those should be the benchmark always. Model answer is good. You should learn from learn things from that, but you should never aim कि हाँ भाई वो जितना points उसने लिखा है वो भी मैं लिख लूँ. Unrealistic plus not also that much good also, I believe. मेरा personal opinion. So हमेशा benchmark ले आप previous year toppers paper. I believe इस बार मनीषा का मैंने डाला था इसमें चैनल में डाला है, ठीक है. उनका मार्क्स बहुत अच्छा है, 131 ऐसा उनका है, तो उनका मैंने शेयर करके रखा है. तो आप लोग उन्होंने मतलब इवन क्या बोलते हैं, अगर मेरे को मिलेगा तो मैं चैनल में डाल दूंगा. बट आई बिलीव डीमिस्टिफाइड सीएससी आप लोग फॉलो कर रहे हो. इन दैट ऑल द प्रीवियस ईयर टॉपर्स का हम लोग ने पेपर डाल रहे हैं, ठीक है. माई ऑल्सो इज येट टू कम, बट आई बिलीव वी वुड बी पुटिंग demystifycsc.in. वो हम दिस ईयर टॉपर्स लोग का है, 2018 का है, ठीक है. demystify CSC, demystify DEM, I don't know how to spell it. Such a fool I am. So demystify CSC में आपको previous year toppers का मिल जाएगा, and please go through it, okay? They are really wonderful work everyone has done, so you would be very much benefiting. So all this thing मतलब वही, और everything ना मतलब वही थोड़ा challenge की तरह लेना है, थोड़ा वो होना है, मतलब जज्बा, मतलब मैं हमेशा पहला दिन से लाइफ में डेयरिंग करने का है, तो इतना ज़रा सोचना नहीं है और अच्छी तरह करना है. Everything would be fine, pretty much easy, you know. Anything else? GS का मल्टीपल पर्सपेक्टिव जरूरी नहीं होगा. इफ इट इज आस्किंग यू दैट टेल अबाउट इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी, इट हैज ऑलरेडी लिमिटेड ज्योग्राफी टू इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी. I don't think multiple perspective is too much a requirement when it comes to GS. But in essay and optional, multiple perspective is bound to give you more marks. Okay. For the rest of the question, do just connect me with on what Telegram, I believe. Okay. We are ending the class. Thank you for bearing me for so long.